Good morning, lads. It's Tom, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can ensure we are growing our delts. Like every lad needs a good set of delts on them because they're the first thing people see. Your face and your delts are like your presence. Yes, your chest, your back, arms are important, but delts are very, very important when it comes to presence. And in my opinion, there is a big misconception about what is actually required to grow the delts. And I think a lot of people go off down a tangent. I see it all the time, and there's a big confusion around it. So I want to clear everything up in terms of exactly what you need to do to grow your delts, and it's actually relatively simple. It's just usually not knowing what you don't know, which is holding you back. So effectively, the number one thing I hear all the time is, for example, I had this a couple of weeks ago. We onboarded one of our VIP clients into the team, and he says, Tom, I mentioned in my onboarding form that like growing my delts was a big priority. I want the big round boulder cap delts, and there's no shoulder press in that. And I was like, yeah, mate, we know, right? And we went through and explained it. And you may be thinking the same right now. You may be thinking, I want to grow my delts, and you're shoulder pressing once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and you're wondering why your shoulders aren't growing. Now, that is because the majority of your delt that we look for is actually that round cap. And the majority of your delt is actually going to be made up of your medial delt, your lateral delt, your side delts, in other words. And also your rear delt. And too many people focus on the presses, and the presses are just going to hit your front delt. And the thing is, your front delts aren't going to make you look any wider, any thicker, and your front delts are actually getting hit already, because any pressing movement for chest, no matter how well you isolate your chest on a flat press, especially an incline press, you're always going to catch a relatively good amount of front delt, even though we are isolating the chest as well as possible, just from the nature of the movement. So the front delts are getting enough volume through the week. I have not shoulder pressed in easily 3 years now. And a lot of people say, fuck me, Tom, you got massive delts. And they'll see me like after I've just trained, and they're like, fuck. And they're asking like how often I shoulder press. I'm like, I do not shoulder press. I have grown my delts by having absolute massive focus on my lateral, i.e. my side delts, and a little bit of rear delt. And I'm going to show you exactly what we need to build that in. So to start with, guys, let's just start off with training split. So when it comes to a training split, imagine we got a 5-day split. Honestly, when it comes to growing your delts, I would say you want to hit them 2 to 3 times a week. In my opinion, twice a week's pretty good. It's perfect, in all honesty. It means you can train them at sufficient volume, high intensity, just like any other muscle group, but they've got sufficient time to recover, because at the end of the day, in the session, we're breaking down the tissue. It's the recovery between them where we're actually rebuilding it. So we do want to make sure they've got time to rest and recover. So twice a week for the delts is a really good way to go about it. So you could do like a push-pull legs, push-pull, and obviously you would do delts tagged in to both push sessions. You could do an even more delt focused split, which would be push-pull legs, rest, chest and back, delts and arms. So they've almost got a full day of their own, as well as a tag on at the end of your push session. Now, I do tend to split, like rotate between these two splits, and I absolutely love them. And they're very good at giving your lower body enough volume with once a week, and potentially a little bit in the pull session for the posterior, but a massive amount of focus going into that top line, the delts and the chest, which is obviously what a lot of people are wanting to grow. Now, I put some notes here. What I do, or depends on where I'm at. Like now, I actually don't have my delts in a surplus volume. But what I do now is not what you should be looking at doing to get to where I have grown my delts. So, you know, if you look at, for example, Richard Branson, and you look how he operates his day now, the owner of Virgin, multi-billionaire, you wouldn't get to his life by just doing his routine right now. Effectively, what you got to do is look what he did on the way up, okay? So what did I do to actually get all of the tissue into my delts, and what other people who are growing big delts doing? Volume in the medial delt. So twice a week, I would do 3 to 4 sets of lateral raises for 2 exercises. So for example, on my push session, I may do 2 exercises of lateral delts only, no front pressing, because again, the chest part of that session, I'm going to be doing some pressing movement, which is going to hit my front delt. So I'm going to be doing lateral delt movements twice. A mixture of free weight, a mixture of machine, and a mixture of cables. So free weight may be dumbbell lateral raises, that might be chest supported on a bench, it could be standing, it could be cables, which may be lying cuffed lateral raise from a lengthened position, it could be standing single arm, it could be a crucifix cable lateral raise with cuffs, it could be machine, it could be a lateral raise machine from a shortened or a lengthened position. There's all sorts of different movements, but all of them are going to be working in this plane. And what you can see is that there, where it gets the highest, is taking the tension. So almost getting yourself as well, guys, into a bit of a golf posture this way is really going to help. You shouldn't be lateral raising stood up vertically. You want to have that tilt in your spine that way. So what happens is it brings your medial delt onto the top, rather than if you're stood up straight. Even if you work that way, if I'm up perfectly straight, my front delt is actually the highest. Whereas if I tilt forwards, my medial delt's the highest. So that's another little tip that I would take into account. So effectively, you're going to be doing 4 exercises across the week, 3 to 4 sets on each exercise. And I would split those into 2 sessions. You could technically do more, but I would start off with minimal dosage of training volume and work up. So it may be at the start, you do 3 sets of delts exercise 1, 3 sets of delts exercise 2 on your first day. The next day you could, well, your next session where you hit delts, it could be exercise 3 and 4 again for 3 sets. In the next week or the next 6 weeks, you may work up a little bit of volume, you may move one of the exercises up to 4 sets, and so on. The next thing I want to talk about, other than frequency and volume, is just mastering a little bit further the execution. So having that slight lean forward, like a golf posture, is how I like to go about it, is going to allow you to really isolate it, but then just having ultimate control and keeping tension in the delt. So what I see a lot of people doing is they come into the bottom of a movement and it's all slack. It's just like a flop, and then they drive up and they're just lifting the hands up. And it's not really hitting the delt, whereas the whole time you should be controlled, feel like the delt's lengthening, keep the tension, and it should be like fired in the bottom. And then you drive from here. Imagine you're being poked in the side of the delt, and you're gonna drive up to there, and you're gonna keep the tension in here, slow down, 3 seconds, pause, drive, and then again, all the tension's there. It should be rock hard the whole time. It should not be like this. It should be like up, slow, 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 tight, drive. That will completely change the game. You need tension through the muscle. We are not here to lift weights, we are here to build the body. So you may have heard the term Mike Mensa back in the day, you are not a weightlifter, you're a bodybuilder. We're trying to build the muscle, not lift weights. Simply pressing, simply lifting weights will not isolate, will not put tension through the muscle. It's more of just a power lift. But guys, powerlifting is not going to build the physique. If you want to build aesthetics, you want to build proportions, you want to change the way you look, how you feel, we need to be building on the aesthetic, and we want immense levels of intention when we're training. Another little training cue that I like to talk to clients about when they're working up is your little finger should almost feel the highest at the top. If your hands are going this way and they're rotating out, again, what you see happens is your front delt will get higher here. Whereas if you work this way and my little finger is now here, you can see my medial delt is on the top. Okay, guys? So a mixture of free weight, machine, and cable, but with maximal tension through all of them, keeping the tension in there the whole time. Don't think about driving up from the arm. Think about everything from shorten the delt, squeeze, control, 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 control. Keep the tension, drive again, and squeeze. Where the tension is, the muscle will grow. It's as simple as that. Now, obviously, so far we've talked about the lateral delt, which is going to be the 80% of the aesthetic of your delt. So that's where we're going to have the 4 major exercises across the week, for basically just smashing those 2 sessions with 2 in each one. Now, front delts are already getting hit, like I said, in pressing movements. I'm not really, maybe 1 training block a year I might incorporate. I don't personally, but with a client we may incorporate if they just enjoyed it, something like a dumbbell shoulder press, cool. But then when it comes to rear delts, I would simply just work a little bit of rear delts into your pull day. So when you're training upper back and you're doing something like a chest supported T-bar row or a pronated grip row, you're actually going to be hitting the rear delt anyway in a compound move, a barbell bent over row with a pronated grip this way, so palms facing down. So anything that way when you row is going to hit your rear delt, so you don't really need to spend too much time isolating them. Yes, you can do things like a rear delt fly, whether that's on a reverse pec deck, whether that's on a cable. You can do this sort of movement here to hit the rear delt. But if you're training some heavy compounds, again with immense levels of intention, tempo, and execution, on those pronated row movements, you're going to blow up your rear delts and they're going to get very strong. So for me, rear delts are going to get hit with the rows, front delts are going to get hit with the presses. All of your focus wants to be shifted into the medial delt and just having a really slow, controlled tempo, all the tension in the delts, squeezing them, and just making all your focus and changing your mindset around what it takes to grow your delt. We're hitting here and here anyway. If we're training well with a good split, all the emphasis needs to be here. And I would focus on 3 to 4 seconds on the way down, slight pause, no bounce, slight pause here, drive up, squeeze. You can see here, even just here in the camera, a lot of tension there. No swinging, none of this, no relax, switched on and off like a fucking floppy dick. Drive up, squeeze, control, 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 drive, squeeze, control. You will have the biggest delt pump. It will feel like you've got some creature trying to get out of your delts when you train delts correctly. Now, when it comes to movements, I know I said free weight, I know I said machine, I know I said cables. Now I just want to run you through a few examples. I'm a big fan when it comes to free weight, just a normal dumbbell lateral raise. Tilting forwards, I like to actually do the free weight stuff a little bit heavier, but really controlled. Also the machine work, I like to go a little bit heavier. If you've got something like a single arm machine lateral raise, this is an opportunity in a stable environment where you can work the load up. So maybe rep ranges of 8 to 12 in the loaded stable environment. So like a supported dumbbell free weight or a machine lateral raise. And then when it comes to the cables, the profile on the cables is different. What the cables give you, as opposed to like in a free weight or a machine where you got maximal tension here, not much here, and you got to make a conscious effort to keep that engaged. Cables, you will have the same resistance the whole way through. That's how the cables are designed. So the resistance profile is better for delivering tension the whole time. So I like to go slightly higher reps with the cables and maybe do 12 to 20 rep ranges on any of the cable movements, and the machine and free weight I keep more 8 to 12. So as a whole, you're training your lateral delts between 8 to 20 reps, 3 to 4 sets per exercise, maximal tension the whole time, and your delts will honestly blow up. We actually have our push-pull legs, chest and back, delts and arms training program, the EO1 training program, lean gaining program, which is all emphasized around building out that top line. I'll put a link for that below this video. If you do want to learn how to build your physique, how to build your training programs, how to build the perfect aesthetics, work out your calories, your macros, and take your physique to the next level, we also do have our EO1 University, which is a done with us course and weekly calls, and we've also got our VIP coaching where we do absolutely everything for you and take you the whole way through an elite physique transformation. So if you are looking to take it to that next level, do check out the link below and we can see if we can be of any help to you. If not, just keep watching these videos and I hope I can give you a ton of value over the coming weeks, months, and years, lads. Let's get it.